Hey everybody, this is Mike doing another video on my Intex 18 by 48 easy set pool. I did another video about a month ago and I got long-winded and started talking about other things that didn't have to do with the pool. So we're going to make a quicker video that's describing nothing but the details of this pool and the pump and filter upgrade that I did. If you're going to buy one of these pools or any above ground pool, watch this entire video because I'm going to show the pros and cons and I'm going to point out the stuff that I found out so that you can make a wise decision on your purchase. This is an 18-foot diameter by 48-inch tall pool. But if you're wanting to know from where to where the dimensions are, I'm going to tell you right now. From that fat point down low to that fat point down low, that is 18 feet. If you notice the profile, okay, on the inside of that blue donut up top to the inside of the blue donut, that's only 16 feet. Okay, it's not really a deal breaker, but you need to know that if you're going to do like I did, which was pour a concrete slab. And here in a few minutes, we're going to talk about why I did concrete versus just putting a tarp on the ground or spreading out sand. There's pros and cons to that type of setup. Okay, now as far as the height is concerned, it's 48 inches to the very top of this blue donut. Okay, the water level, as you can see, is about 6 inches below that. So in reality, all you get is about 42 inches of water depth. That's okay. 42 inches is plenty. All right, and you're going to see it here in a minute. You're going to see a picture of my wife in the pool so you can get a true idea of the scope or the size of this pool. It's a lot larger than you think it is. Even though I'm shooting with a GoPro and it's in high def on YouTube, you can't really understand how big it is unless you're standing next to it. Okay, concrete. I put concrete on mine, and you're going to see here in a second why I did concrete versus spreading sand on the ground or putting a tarp. The concrete, however, was not cheap. All right, if you're going to do concrete like I did, and I saw very few YouTube videos where anybody did this, but I did it for a very good reason. I didn't want grass or weeds growing right up against the pool. You're going to have to think about that when you set this pool up. How are you going to maintain it? I think everybody gets excited in the moment. They buy the pool, they throw the tarp on the ground, maybe spread some sand out, and within a month or two, they're already disappointed because it's too much work to maintain it. I put concrete because I'm not going to have to deal with any issues, okay? Now, this pool, let me tell you what it comes with. It comes with a tarp, which is basically just a blue tarp like you would buy at Home Depot or Lowe's. You're going to get a cover, which is even thinner of plastic, but it covers the pool top. You're going to get a ladder, not that ladder you see over there. We're going to talk about that one in a second. And you get a pool pump and filter. The pump and filter that came with this pool were an absolute joke. It was completely underpowered. It just wasn't big enough to pump and filter nearly 6,000 gallons of water. Okay, now let's back up a second. 6,000 gallons of water. This is why I poured concrete. Okay, a gallon of water weighs approximately 8 pounds. Let's do the math. 6 times 8 is 48. So there's 48,000 pounds of water in that pool. Pretty close. This is why I decided to do concrete. You don't have to do concrete. It was a big ticket item. You can just level the ground if you want to, but I had issues with my backyard. My backyard grass sloped in 20 feet from one end to the other. It sloped 7 inches. Okay, so that's what all that dirt is back there that I still have to contend with. So you're gonna have to decide if you want lingering issues down the road or you want to set it up and forget it. And that's the reason why I put concrete. And there's plenty of rebar in there too. You could drive a tank over it. You also have to remember you're still gonna need some kind of a fabric in between the pool and the concrete. That fabric you see there is actually felt. I ordered it on Amazon, and you choose the diameter that you want. I ordered a 20-foot diameter, and I cut it down carefully with a pair of scissors, so there wasn't a whole lot sticking out. So that way, aesthetically, it didn't look like crap. That's another reason why I didn't want to deal with a tarp. Everybody that puts a pool on top of a tarp, well, it looks like crap. I just knew I could do a better job, although it was going to mean more money into the project, but I was ready to accept that. All right. I'm going to walk over here and show you that upgraded ladder. We're going to talk about several things. We're going to get to the pump here in a second. This ladder that I bought is actually a dock ladder. I bought it from a dock manufacturer online. They make ladders for houseboats and for docks and it's stainless steel. You can get them in aluminum or stainless, and they have dozens of different models. This one is collapsible, and I'm going to collapse it right now. I'm going to show you how it works. All right, that was important to me, to have it collapse. I wanted it permanently mounted, but it had to collapse. Why? Because when it gets cold in the winter months, I'm going to cover this pool. Well, how are you going to cover it and rope it down with a ladder that's in the pool? You can't. I would have to unmount the ladder. So that's the reason why I wanted a collapsible ladder. The other good thing about this ladder is that it does not touch the bottom of the pool. Okay, it's about 6 inches off the bottom. So that was important to me too. All right, it wasn't cheap, but it was a good investment. All right, here's something else. The pool skimmer. The pool skimmer, what you see right there, is an aftermarket accessory. Okay, Intex makes that. But the bracket that you see here was made to go over this rubber inflatable donut. It did not work. It was crap. So I fabricated my own. You can see it there. Those are stainless screws, and I'm going to turn the pump on right now. And we're going to talk about the pump here in a second, so hold on. Let me turn this pump on. Let's go down here. There we go. All right, so there it is in action. And you can see it is sucking in water, and any little debris in the water is going to go right in there, and it works perfect, and it's perfectly level. See that little ant just went in there? There's all kinds of little, and they'll float. Eventually they'll float, and there they go. Everything's getting sucked. Oh, there's a walking stick. Anyway, they get sucked in there. So the way I did it works better than the way it was manufactured, but I had to come up with something. Also, if you notice right here, this is my water fill. Okay, I bought this at Home Depot or Lowe's, I can't remember which, but it's silver, chrome plated, and it's got the blue handle. I did that specifically so it looked poolish, I guess, if that's a word. But the way I fill the pool when it gets low is all I have to do is come over to this hose right here, and I just take that hose over to my hose bib that's over there on the house, and I just turn it on, and it automatically fills the pump, or fills the pool from right here. It just shoots out a couple of feet, rather than dragging a hose from the house and draping it over the top edge of the pool. Okay, I didn't want to do that. All right, now let's look at this pump. Now, in this video, you're probably thinking, damn, that's a loud pump. It's really not half as loud as you think it is, and I'm standing right next to it. It just sounds louder in the video. So this is what I invested in. It's a Hayward Pro Series filter and pump, okay? That canister right there holds 200 pounds of sand. It's a 21-inch diameter filter. You buy 4 bags of 50-pound sand, specially made for pools. It's been washed and it's real fine. That's what you need. So if you're gonna upgrade to a pump and a filter like this, it was an additional $750 just for the pump and the filter, not including sand and not including all the parts and pieces that we're gonna talk about here in a second. But it was absolutely worth it. All right, the pump here is pretty heavy duty, all right? It's a workhorse, and it's got a pre-filter here. Water comes in, goes to the pre-filter, goes up into the sand media, goes back out. It actually goes through a chlorinator. There's the chlorinator. I bought that on Amazon. You stack 8 3-inch diameter chlorine tablets. They look like the size of a hockey puck. You stack them up in there, and the water filter goes through there. And then I have a union, or not a union, but a Y. And you can see it goes that way. That's going to my waterfall. And it also goes this way, going to my jet. So depending on if the valves are open or closed, I can decide which way I want the water to go. Now, this is real important. I'm gonna shut this pump off, okay? I'm gonna close this valve. There we go. And I'm gonna open this valve turn the pump back on, and I'm going to show you what the waterfall looks like. All right. There you go. That is a 3 foot in length, a 3 foot waterfall. I bought that also on Amazon. This manufacturer that makes these makes them in 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, and on up. So for this 3 footer, you needed to have a pump that was going to pump 66 gallons per minute. And the pump that I have is more than adequate. Okay. And also that waterfall illuminates. It's got LEDs behind it. It's pretty cool. All right. If you notice down here, I decided I did not want to go with all this flex line everywhere. I wanted everything to be semi-permanent. But if you do this in PVC like I did, you're going to have to make sure you know what you're doing. You're going to need plenty of valves, and you're going to need these unions. These unions right here allow you to take the pipe apart without cutting it. So if I ever have an issue with this, or for some reason I got to change the sand, which you're going to have to do after a few years, you can take it all apart without having to take a hacksaw to your pipes, because everything's glued together. Okay, so you need to have these unions everywhere. All right. Now, you also need a pool bond. What is a pool bond? Well, basically, that copper stake that's going into the ground 3 feet, the motor is bonded. Think of it as a ground, okay, like a ground rod. And it's bonded, and this other one goes all the way over to the pool bond. There's an anode that's inside of here that sticks down, and the water flows around it. And when it's touching the water, it's bonding all the water inside the pool. So you're never going to get shocked or electrocuted. You kind of need that. All right, let's look at the plumbing here. If you notice, I've got 2 inlets. There's my jet going out into the pool, which is turned off right now because I got the waterfall running. If you notice, this one here has got an electrical cable going to it. That's a pool light. Now, that didn't come with the pool. I bought that as an accessory, but it's not LED, it's halogen. It's 120 volts. So I put that in, and again, you're gonna see in some of these highlighted YouTube snapshots that you cannot run hard PVC directly to the sidewall of this pool. Not only is it at an angle, which would be difficult to do, but the pool is gonna move somewhat. Not a lot, but it's vinyl. It's an inflatable pool. You gotta have some give and take. So I've got some flex going to my T, comes down here, goes through the valve that's open, pre-filter, pump, goes up, filters, comes through, back down through the chlorinator, and then goes left or right, back into the pool. So this is the way I set mine up. I kept all the pipes off the ground. You can see I got blocks. You want to make sure you do it right, because you don't want to have to redo it and redo it and redo it. Now, I will tell you this. Once I set everything up, I turned the pump on, and I found leaks here and there, and it had nothing to do with my glued connections. I haven't had a single drop out of any of my glued connections because I did it right. But I did have issues where the PVC screws into here. I did not use enough tape, thread tape. So make sure you wrap your pipes with enough loops of thread tape to keep leaks from happening. I also have a timer for the pool. That's for the motor. As you can see, 3 on 3 off, 3 on 3 off, all the way around the clock. Okay. Deck lights. It's on a timer. They come on at a certain time, they go off at a certain time. Pool light timer. Here's my courtesy receptacle. It's 120 volt, 30 amp. Now, for a pump like this, you're gonna need a 30 amp breaker, because when it kicks on, it takes a lot of power, just for a fraction of a second. Don't think that a 120 volt receptacle is gonna work. You need to put a 30 amp breaker in your electrical panel, and you need to run a minimum of 10 gauge. I put 8 gauge wire, 150 feet underground all the way to my electrical panel. You just don't want an extension cord out here on the ground coming to your pump. That's not the way you do it. Do it right. Okay, when you buy this pump and filter, it comes with a base. Now, as you can see, there's a bolt there. The motor is bolted down to the base with 2 screws. The rest of it is just sitting there freely. It's not gonna move. There's 200 pounds of sand in there. This thing weighs about 75 pounds. Altogether, you're looking at probably 300 pounds. It's not gonna budge. It's not gonna move. And it's on concrete. Okay, this is your waste line. Comes down when you decide that you need to empty the pool or clean the sand in the filter. You turn the selector switch up there to waste, and it pumps out right here. Okay, there's all my accessories. All right, at this point, I'm going to switch to the pictures on YouTube. It only lasts a couple of minutes, but hang tight and listen to what I'm showing you and listen to the pros and cons, and then we'll come back to the video. Okay, here's some quick snapshots from the internet. These are all just screenshots from YouTube. This homeowner here put their pool on top of a deck that they built. It's not as big as my pool by a long shot. It's pretty small, but still, remember that water is heavy, approximately 8 pounds per gallon. So this is a bad idea all the way around. I would not suggest doing this. Here's another shot showing, this is from the Intex website, showing how you spread the tarp on the ground. There's that little bitty pump. Okay, keep in mind, how are you gonna cut the grass around that pool? You're gonna have to think ahead a little bit. Here's another shot showing that little bitty pump. They put the pool on top of a tarp, and not a really great idea. Here's another shot. They're getting ready to set their pool up. There's that little bitty pump, again, on a tarp. Here's a picture of that pleated filter. It's sort of like a shop vac filter. It gets dirty. You just open the canister, you take it out, you hose it off, and you're good to go. Personally, I wanted to eliminate this entire step. That's why I went with a sand filter. Here's another shot. This guy spread sand on the ground like was recommended, and he put a plastic weed barrier or edging around the sand. But look at that grass. It's gonna grow through the sand at some point. You're gonna have to deal with this. This is a nightmare you just don't wanna have to deal with. And of course you see his black hose draped over the top. He's trying to fill the pool. Again, I just did not wanna do it that way. Here's a guy, this is from a video. He's getting ready to cut his pool. They decided they don't want it anymore, and they're just gonna slice it with a razor knife. But my point of showing this photograph here is how the grass is growing right up against the pool. How are you gonna edge the grass around the pool? Okay, these people here bought a huge Intex pool. Now, look at it. It was a nightmare. These people were making a video showing how they were having major issues just trying to set it up. It's rectangular in shape, and when you have long sides, remember, this water is going to push outward in all directions. And if it's not done properly, you end up with this. Now, that's not to say that they did it improperly. They were just having major issues trying to get it to fill correctly. Here's another photograph. This guy here wanted to upgrade from all that flex line. He wanted to do hard plumbing. But in his video, he acknowledges that he completely overlooked the fact that you cannot have hard PVC plumbing directly to the pool wall. Why? Because it's vinyl. It's going to give. It's going to move as people are splashing around or swimming. And he said that while he was in the pool swimming, that he could hear creaking and cracking. Well, that's the pipes. So at some point where the valves are, from that point to the pool, you're going to have at least a foot or two of flex so that it has some give and take without overstressing those PVC pipes. Here's another photograph. This lady here, I really feel for her. They were filling her pool. This pool is brand new, never been used. And as they were filling it, it collapsed. I don't know how this happened, but I'm guessing that it wasn't quite assembled correctly where the metal joints were. They just weren't, it just wasn't done correctly at some point, I think, while they were assembling the framing that holds this pool together, and she never even got to swim in it. It completely collapsed on her as they were filling it up with water. Here's another guy. This is another reason why I didn't want a pool with metal parts. This guy's pool is 1 year old, and already he has pipes that are rusting. A year. Here's a close-up of one of those pipes. Look at the rust. Okay, here's another close-up of the pipes for that guy's pool. Rust. Now what he did is he ordered new ribbing or new metal parts from Intex. You can order replacement parts. This piece of pipe, looking down inside of it, is brand new. He just took it out of the box. So yes, when they're manufacturing these, they powder coat the outside, but looking down into the piece of metal there, it was already rusting from the inside out. They don't powder coat the inside of the pipe. So he got it like this in the mail. So rust is also relentless. Wherever it starts, it's just gonna spread like a virus. It's gonna fail from the inside out. Here's another picture of somebody who obviously had an issue with rust and the ribbing failed. Once it starts rusting to the point of failure, that's it, collapse. Here's somebody that put a pool up. They did a really good job on the landscaping. You see he planned ahead. He put some kind of mulch or some kind of rock, and he's got paving stones, and he edged it with some kind of a black plastic, but he knew to keep the grass away from the pool, and it looks like he obviously leveled it really well. So that's nicely done. Here's another shot. This one he tried, but I can see issues. The grass is going to start growing through the rocks. Okay, maybe he put some weed barrier down, I don't know, but I think he needs some kind of edging to stop the grass from going into the rocks. And if you look on the left hand side real close, there's an orange extension cord. So that's not the way you do it. You just don't want to have an extension cord running from the house out to the pool. That's not the way you do it. Here's another guy, obviously somewhere in either New Mexico or Arizona or somewhere in the desert area. He's got pavers all around and some gravel. It's nicely done, although those cinder blocks underneath the legs of the ladder don't look too cool. He's gonna have to figure out a better way to do that. All right, so here's a picture of my wife in the pool, just kind of giving you an idea of the size of the pool. Again, this is an 18 by 48. So you can see the size. This is a full-grown adult in the pool. It's pretty big. It gives you a size reference there for how big the pool is. And here's a final photograph showing what my pool looks like at night. Now those 2-watt LED lights that are up on the deck, they're just enough light to light it up. And then you have that halogen 120-volt light that I put in the pool. Without that light on, because I tried turning it off to see what it would look like, that pool is pitch black. So even if the deck were illuminated and I did not have a pool light, you'd be diving into a black abyss. I mean, it's got to be illuminated some kind of way. And that's what it looks like with that pool light. So anyway, I just wanted to show you some snapshots before we go any further. Okay, let's wrap this video up. I promised you a quick one, so let's keep it short. If you're wanting to know the total cost of everything, let's start off with the cost of the pool. There were many videos that I saw, people were talking about a few $100, you know, anywhere from $350 to $600, I think is what people were saying that they spent for an 18 by 48 pool. Now, I paid $1,500 and I bought it on Amazon. And I'm guessing the reason why it was so expensive is because we're in the middle of this COVID pandemic. It's the summer of 2020, and every website I went to, including Intex, it said out of stock, out of stock, out of stock. And I found one pool on Amazon, it said one left. So I made it quick, put it in my cart, and bought it as fast as I could to make sure that I got it. So I probably paid a premium, probably because this pandemic has got all the manufacturers overseas shut down, and there was maybe one in stock, and they jacked the price up. You know how these companies do us. They'll gouge your eyes out. So I paid $1,500 for the pool, which was that package deal with the pump and filter and the ladder and the cover and the tarp. Now, if you factor in the cost of the concrete, okay, well, that concrete was not cheap. I spent about $5,000 for the slab that's 20 foot in diameter so that I would have an extra foot to walk around when I'm skimming the pool with the hand skimmer, and that little piece of concrete that's in front of my shed there. Those two things there. And you got to remember that the slab for the pool continues. It was one solid pour. It continues underneath the deck for the area where the pump and everything else is sitting on. plus that piece back there that's encasing all of my 4x4s for my deck. So all that concrete total was about $5 grand, and most of that is labor, but it took 15 yards of concrete. So for all of you contractors out there that know how much a yard of concrete is, that's a lot of concrete. So anyway, the slab was 15 grand. The deck itself, all the lumber and the material, the paint, everything to get it done. If you factor in the landscaping, the slab, the pool, and the deck, and all the pump and all the plumbing and everything total, everything that you're looking at right now, I spent about 16 grand. Okay, yeah, I know, it's sticker shock. And there are those of you watching this video right now that are gonna say, screw that, I am not spending 16 grand. I just want a pool, and if I can get it for a grand or two, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, you don't have to spend as much money as I did. It was a project that got away from me, and I just threw it all on credit card, and I'm still paying for it. But here's the thing, the finished product, I love it. I love it. It was, to me, even though 16 grand is not chump change, that's a lot of money, I am so happy that I did it the way I did it, because I won't have issues trying to mow grass close to the pool or using a string trimmer. If you hit the edge of that pool with a string trimmer, guess what? Niagara Falls. So not only that, I have a nice deck. I don't have to deal with that piece of crap A-frame ladder that you climb up and somehow you have to spin around on at the top and climb down the other side. That's a joke. So I wanted it to look nice. It's an absolute upgrade to my house. When I get ready to sell this house, it's nice enough that it's going to be a selling point. We'll be able to take pictures of it and put it on the MLS. I mean, hey, it looks great, and it looks great with my shed. But if you decide to go to the extent that I did, I would wholeheartedly suggest concrete. There was some videos that I watched where the guy said his pool started to slope simply because the sand was compacting more on one side than the other. So again, if you're gonna buy a pool like this and just set it up for the summer, and then you're gonna drain it and fold it up and put it away for the winter, okay, you don't need to do all this. But if you wanna set up a pool, you wanna buy one and set it up and have it be permanent. It means you're never gonna take it down, you don't wanna mess with it. And you don't want lingering issues, this is how you need to do it. Now, to all those snapshots that I took from YouTube, those people didn't do anything wrong. It's a learning process. They learned the hard way that there's some things they should have done differently, and I'm not trying to knock anybody. This is just the way I did it. I'm not telling anybody that they did theirs wrong, but think real careful about how you're gonna do this, not only where you're gonna set it, but how you're gonna construct the whole thing so that you don't have issues. You don't want issues that you got to deal with. Okay, in my opinion, this was the way to do it. Like I said, it was a lot of money, but it was worth it. Okay, please leave a comment down on the bottom and tell me what you think. I'd like to hear your feedback. So and I'll answer, I'll respond to anything. I know that this is pretty fast. There's probably people out there that are thinking, man, I sure would like to hear more about that pump and filter. I could make a 2-hour video just on the pump and filter and the way I did everything, a step-by-step, but people are just gonna stop at some point and not watch the rest of the video. So that's why I made it quick, okay? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this will help you if you're planning on buying one, and good luck.